Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're diving into a truly fascinating topic, one that literally deals with the economic lifeblood of a nation. We are unpacking the evolution of India's strategy to combat unemployment. Because, when you're dealing with a population of over 1 billion people, generating jobs isn't just a basic economic policy, it's this monumental nation-building challenge. What we're going to explore today is a highly structured strategic transformation over the last couple of decades. We'll trace exactly how India shifted from providing temporary seasonal wage relief right through to this incredibly ambitious focus on lifelong skill building. It is essentially a masterclass in how macroeconomic policies adapt to changing realities, and I am absolutely thrilled to break it all down for you.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. Tackling the crisis. 2. Early rural wage programs. 3. The MGNREGA revolution. 4. Urban and educated initiatives. And finally, 5. The shift to skills.
All right, Section 1, Tackling the Crisis. To really grasp the sheer scale of the challenge a massive developing nation faces here, we have to look at the timeline. Because in an economy this big, unemployment isn't just one single problem, right? It's seasonal for farmers, it's structural because of limited capital, and it even hits educated folks whose degrees might not quite match what the market actually needs. Fixing all of that requires some serious, step-by-step interventions. So look at this roadmap. We start in 1993 with the Employment Assurance Scheme, move over to urban programs around 1997, witness a massive paradigm shift in 2005 with MGNREGA, and arrive in 2015 with Skill India. You're basically watching a government learn, adapt, and massively scale its interventions over time. Moving on to Section 2, Early Rural Wage Programs. So the absolute foundation of India's early strategy focused heavily on rural areas. And you might be wondering, why start there? Well, the vast majority of the population relied on agriculture, which is incredibly vulnerable to seasonal unemployment. When the harvest is over or if there's a terrible drought, families desperately need a safety net. And a really crucial element of these early schemes, like the Employment Assurance Scheme launched back in 1993, was this specific number, a 75 to 25 cost-sharing ratio between the central and state governments. The EAS targeted over 1,700 backward blocks in drought-prone, tribal, and hilly areas. The central government did the heavy financial lifting, covering 75%, while the states handled the local rollout and the remaining 25%. The goal was super specific. Give 100 days of lean season work to 2 members of a rural family, and use that labor to build durable community assets. But policy is iterative. It builds on itself. After the EAS in 1993, the government realized they could tighten things up even more. By 2001, they launched the Sampurna Gramin Rozgar Yojana, or SGRY, which brilliantly merged those earlier schemes to provide both wage employment and actual food security for below-poverty-line rural households. And then, realizing they really needed one massive, unified approach, all of these early stepping stones were integrated into a brand new, giant program in 2008. Which brings us to Section 3, the MGNREGA revolution.
Now, we need to build some energy here because this initiative is the crown jewel of India's employment efforts. It's truly unprecedented in scale. In 2015, the United Nations Development Program actually said MGNREGA is the best-known employment guarantee scheme, providing direct jobs to the rural poor, exemplary in job creation for the poorest rural households. I really want to emphasize that global endorsement. This wasn't just a minor policy tweak, it shifted the whole paradigm from offering a helpful scheme to actually guaranteeing work as a right for rural households.
And the impacts on the ground are incredibly multifaceted. It isn't just about handing out a paycheck for 100 days of guaranteed unskilled labor, it's structurally changing society. For instance, it mandates that 1/3 of the beneficiaries absolutely must be women, which is a huge driver for empowerment. Plus, by providing work right there in the villages, it actively curbs the desperation that forces people into urban migration. And while these workers are earning higher agricultural wages, they're literally building their own infrastructure, wells, rural roads, canals, assets that permanently boost the local village economy. Of course, running a program of this literal size is notoriously difficult. Early on, MGNREGA definitely faced its share of corruption and frustrating wage delays. So what was the fix? Technology. By hooking the whole program up to Aadhaar-linked direct benefit transfers, the funds now completely bypass all those middle administrative hands. The money goes straight into the bank accounts of the workers. It's a brilliant way to plug the leaks and ensure people actually get the wages they worked so hard for. Let's shift gears now. Section 4, Urban and Educated Initiatives. Because look, unemployment isn't just happening out in the fields. The government had to diversify its attack for the cities too. For the urban poor, they rolled out programs like the SJSRY, which later evolved into the National Urban Livelihood Mission. This pushed for urban poverty alleviation through self-employment, skill training, and community networks, using that exact same 75 to 25 funding split we saw earlier. But what about educated youth who can't find work? You can't just offer them manual labor. So the Prime Minister's Rozgar Yojana, or PMRY, was designed specifically for them. It actually helps educated, unemployed youth get the backing they need to establish their own ventures across industry, services, and business sectors. It's a really smart two-pronged approach.
And that leads us to Section 5, the shift to skills.
So fast forward to 2015, the modern economic landscape demanded way more than just temporary wages. It required lifelong, employable skills. Now, I know the government loves a good acronym, but the strategy here is highly targeted and really important to map out. You've got PMKVY, which specifically targets Class 10 and 12 school dropouts, giving them industry-relevant vocational training through the National Skill Development Corporation. Then there's DDUGKY, which zeroes in on poor rural youth, and the focus there is actually on placement-linked regular monthly wage jobs, not just handing them a certificate and wishing them luck. Finally, the overarching Skill India program casts a wider net, targeting multi-sector youth to build up entrepreneurship across the board.
To truly wrap your head around the ambition of this 2015 shift, just look at this jaw-dropping metric, 19.8 lakh. That is nearly 2 million youth trained under just one of those programs, the PMKVY, in the 2015 to 2016 period alone. The sheer scale of mobilization it takes to transition that many school dropouts into a modern workforce in a single year, it's massive. And it really shows the immense urgency behind this policy shift.
And what's particularly brilliant about the Skill India program is that it doesn't just narrowly focus on, say, high-tech coding jobs. These multi-skill initiatives are incredibly broad. They support traditional occupations, helping folks like weavers and carpenters upgrade their craft and business skills, while at the very same time, they're training youth for booming modern sectors like real estate, commercial textiles, and jewelry making. The ultimate goal is to boost entrepreneurship everywhere, making sure that as the economy modernizes, literally no worker gets left behind. So we've covered an incredible evolution today, right? From sharing the costs of rural wage relief in the 90s, to officially guaranteeing employment rights in the 2000s, to aggressively upskilling millions of youth today. But I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought to chew on. As things like automation and artificial intelligence rapidly advance and radically alter the global economy, can these traditional employment and skill programs actually keep pace with the changing nature of work? It's a huge open question for the future of economic policy, and it's definitely something you should keep in mind as you continue to analyze these global markets. All right, that wraps up our explainer for today. Keep analyzing, keep questioning, and I will catch you in the next one.